Hello there, you're in time for the Handshake here on New Vision TV. I'm Lynn Komjisha. With me in studio is Paul Busharizi. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Paul, apparently we are among 5 poorest countries in the world, and that is according to our GDP per capita.
Why is it funny?
We're not poor, but we are 5th among, we make top 5.
Well,
poorest.
First of all, that survey was a bit problematic. Well, it's your word used, shady. It's a bit problematic. I think, if I remember, it was something about investment bank perceptions. And so the traditional ones we normally use are the World Bank ones or the IMF and stuff like that. And I think anyone who's been observing the trends, we're clearly one of the poorest countries in the world. We probably are in the, God knows, bottom 20 or something like that. Okay. But that one put us at, like the 3rd from the bottom. But they missed out certain countries. But I think that's beside the point. I think it's true. We are one of the poorest countries in the world.
What do they mean according to our GDP per capita?
Oh, yeah. So the measure they used was GDP per capita, which is basically they take the GDP of a country, which is all the economic output of the country, and they divide it by the population. So I think in their figure we were about $600 or something like that.
Is this per person?
Yes. So everyone's share of the economic activity in the country is $600.
Why does this look bad on us?
Well, that's interesting because, so for example, our target is to be a middle-income country by, 2020, which is not going to happen, of course. It's too soon, it's too close. And to be a middle-income country, lower middle-income country, you need to have a per capita GDP of $1,000. So you can see we have $400 to go, which is a lot of... Yes. Because currently we are at about $25 billion GDP. So to get to middle income, we need to be at least 40 billion. Ouch. That's a challenge.
Do we have the capacity to get
We're not going to do it in the next 2 years as a plan. But obviously in the next 5 to 10 years, we should be able to do it with oil and everything coming online.
Okay. But I just don't like us referring to oil because this guy seems to be still far. Yeah. But the oil is among the several other things that are going to help us. So, in the meantime, what then?
Well, obviously, I mean, as I said, it is not anything to brag about that you're one of the poorest in the country. So some things have to be done.
How would you start, really?
I think, of course, work is already happening. It's a process. It's always a process. We came from a long way back. We're talking about $600 now. But as recently as maybe even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we were at 300. So we've doubled in the space of the last 15 or so years. We have to, essentially what has to happen is, what must happen is that we have to make doing business in Uganda cheaper and easier for everyone, not only foreign investors, but for everyone. And the things to do with that, you have to make sure your roads are done, your transport infrastructure, your communication infrastructure, energy, you have to have power. I mean, I was shocked to learn that the Tororo phosphate plant, which I think they're about to launch, and that it requires easily a few hundred megawatts. Yet we have a capacity in the whole country right now of about 800 megawatts. So you can imagine if you're going
half of all that.
Well, not half, but even a tenth of it at least. Imagine if you need at least 100 factories probably like that in order to move you significantly. So we've got to have power. Our laws and the execution or the law enforcement has to be thorough, especially contracts. I sign a contract with you. If you break the contract, can I have it enforced? That's a very important thing, and easily and quickly and efficiently. So those are the things we have to work on, keep on working. They're working on them, but we need to keep on working on them.
Okay, I think that's very interesting. We're not doing so badly. I think we are trying.
Of course we're trying. I think the challenge also for us is that in the last 32 years, so since 1986, the growth, there's been a dramatic growth in the economy, but the growth has been focused, has been has been concentrated in a small group of people, especially around Kampala. And Kampala has about more than 60% of the GDP of Uganda, so you can imagine.
So it needs to be scattered.
Exactly. So us guys, us people in Kampala might be obviously living middle income status lifestyles.
Yeah.
But the majority of people, especially in the rural areas and the periphery, are living,
below.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
below poverty line.
Oh, well, so we cannot brag at all that we
Yet.
are among... No, we don't need to. We can't brag about being poor. We'll just have to work at what we're doing and make sure we, hit that target.
Absolutely.
But 2020 is quite near. I don't think so. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.